Hello and welcome back. We're going to question everything today. Yes, that's the title of this video, and where we find ourselves now in the text is in chapter 3, section 3, perception versus knowledge, a very important idea in the thought system of A Course in Miracles. We're going to spend some time talking about that, as well as questioning and the value of questioning everything. Perception and knowledge, let's talk about that first, because this course talks about knowledge and it talks about perception. This course, as a course in mind training, belongs in the realm of perception. What we're doing here as we forgive, according to this course, in other words, as we practice true forgiveness that sets the ego aside, we're clarifying, or if you want to say, purifying or cleansing our perception. We're learning to perceive correctly. That's what we're here to do. We're here to perceive truly the way things are rather than the way we would have them be. Knowledge is something else entirely. What this course means when it talks about knowledge is simply what is God. God is. This simply is. Knowledge simply is. And it's what we experience once we're awake. If you want to, if you prefer the term enlightened and want to say that, or awakened, or complete, healed, and whole, all that stuff, whatever term you want to use, knowledge is beyond all of that. It simply is. This course does not get us to knowledge. So how then do we experience this? God takes the final step himself. Our goal here is to learn to perceive truly. When we do, then that, if you want to call it a transition, that experience is very easily accomplished. We don't accomplish it. God does, and we're absorbed, in a manner of speaking, back into God. We wake up to the truth of who has always been. Knowledge, truth, is beyond all concepts. It's beyond language, for sure. It's beyond language. It's beyond all ideas and thoughts that we experience here in the realm of perception. So the fundamental thing to understand here about perception is that it involves a subject and an object. That's duality, duo, two. There are a number of spiritual traditions in this world that classify themselves as non-dualistic. This is one of them. This is a thought system that acknowledges that indeed there is only perfect oneness, that we are not two, and that any perception is necessarily dualistic. Why? Because it involves a subject and an object, a perceiver and the perceived, whether it's an object or an idea or a human being. It involves a perceiver and the perceived. Now, this can be used for healing, as we're learning to do here with this course, or it can be used to simply keep us stuck, where we appear to be stuck, running around as individual self-sustaining survival units, and all of the attendant suffering that seems to pursue us from that point. We're clarifying our perception. That is the work of A Course in Miracles. Now, true perception is known by many other names as well, including the vision of Christ or spiritual sight. The world forgiven, seen with true perception, is known as the real world in this course. And it's not in any way a contradiction for this course to insist that there is no world, because there is not. There is only God. Anything that seems to exist in the realm of perception is, in fact, an illusion. This does mean, yes, that miracles and forgiveness are illusions. Forgiveness is an illusion. There's never been anything to forgive. However, when we are so enmeshed in duality, in subject to object, us versus them, me and you, all of that, when we're apparently stuck, in other words, enmeshed in that line of thinking with an entire world built around it, we need what looks like a long, sometimes, doesn't it, a gradual program, a gradual course in miracles, with forgiveness being a miracle, which clarifies our perception. The goal of this course. God then takes the final step himself. Along the way, if this seems completely implausible and like it's never going to happen, of course it's going to happen. It's already happened. Ideas leave not their source. Our work here involves a tremendous amount of learning to relax and trust. This is what happens when we put ourselves under the guidance of our inner teacher. It is a process of learning to relax and trust in the strength of our inner teacher, who directs our forgiveness and will direct yours if you allow him or it to do so. It truly is as simple as that. So what we see here appears to some of us sometimes, and it may have appeared to you at times, to be really, really complicated. It's actually way more simple than we imagine it to be. The truth is very simple, and it's unpretentious, and it's uncomplicated. It simply is. And part of our work here is allowing it to be just as it is. So our work here is to clarify our perception, to perceive as the Holy Spirit, to see things with the vision of Christ. That's our work here. God takes the final step himself, and because accepting atonement involves the acknowledgement that the separation never occurred, we're already awake in God. Let's just wake up to that fact. Let's recognize that. So perception is temporary. It's temporary. Forgiveness is temporary. We'll reach a point when, I don't know, but we will all reach a point where there are no more forgiveness lessons to be learned. Wouldn't you like to hasten that moment? I mean, you don't have to answer that Yes, affirmative. I would love to hasten to that moment. I'd love to be awake right now. You don't have to answer that in any particular way. Yet here we all are, here you are on this path, having made some kind of commitment to study this material, and I hope to practice it, because that's how you learn it. So we straighten out our perception before we know anything, before we really truly know, which involves certainty, 100% certainty. We straighten out our perception so that we may know ourselves, so that we may know God. We straighten out our perception first. That's our work. That's what we're doing. So let's talk for a moment about questioning everything. Here in paragraph 2, Jesus tells us that questioning illusions is indeed the first step to undoing them. This makes sense, doesn't it? It makes all the sense in the world and beyond, right? Because if we don't have an awareness that something is wrong, we cannot expect ourselves to do anything about it. Nor when we look at somebody who obviously has an issue in this world and it's obvious to us, but they're not aware of it, how can we expect them to do anything about it if they're not aware of it? This is that principle in action. And then once we become aware of this, we question illusions. We're invited in this course to question the very foundations of everything we now believe, all that we've been indoctrinated. I love that word. It's accurate, isn't it? Indoctrinated to believe, all that we've been conditioned to believe, everything our biology textbooks have told us to believe that we had to regurgitate for the final exam, otherwise we would fail a course. Everything that our parents have taught us, everything that your religious and spiritual institutions up to this point may have taught you, everything that you've formulated apparently on your own, everything that you've read in any form of media that you've consumed. And we really can't get away from that in the 21st century, can we? Everything. Question everything. You know, I invite people when I teach often to question everything that appears to be coming out of my mouth. Do that. Do it. Why not? Right? It doesn't matter. This type of skepticism can be used to your benefit, your awakening, healing benefit, not to the benefit of your ego necessarily, but for healing. How is this possible? Question the foundations of everything you now believe. Don't stop with just questioning the image on your screen. It is a projected, pixelated image on your screen. How does it appear? I don't really know. I don't know how any of this technology works. I'm just grateful that we have it so that we may communicate. That's a beautiful thing. But what you're hearing is your inner teacher. Your inner teacher has you on the spiritual path, whatever that may look like for you. It's okay to question what somebody says, but don't stop with that. While you're at it, question the very foundations of everything that you now believe. Everything. A useful example here in terms of A Course in Miracles is that our forgiveness is either total or it's not at all. The Course refers to sometimes our hidden hates. These are things that we'd like to reserve for ourselves. When we forgive some people and not others, we want to reserve this little judgment for ourselves. We want to keep this little hidden hate. Yeah, it's okay if someone does something, but if someone else does it, yeah, they're going straight to hell. We want to keep our judgment and blame and condemnation. Perhaps it's for an abusive ex-partner. Maybe it is the opposition political party. Maybe it's your mother or father-in-law. Maybe it's your neighbor that is angry all the time. Whatever it is, begin to question everything, and we let go of all of our judgment. Forgiveness is either total or not at all. If we keep our hidden hates, we're not truly forgiving, because it's either total or it's not at all. So while we're questioning, question everything. Don't leave some things unquestioned. This course is about completely turning around our perception. And in order for us to do that, we have to first question illusions. That's what we're saying right here. So, quick recap, and then we'll wrap up. All perception is temporary. It's all an illusion. However, true perception is a prerequisite for knowledge, for awakening. So this is an invitation to get busy forgiving. It's also an invitation to myself, by the way. All of us, all of us. So thank you, as always, for joining me. I'd love to have you join me here. This is the subscribe button. It's the red arrow. And thank you to all of you who have recently joined us, and for all of your comments and questions. I welcome them. I will be beginning the live stream in February. I don't know the exact date. I'm actually going to be traveling for a few days in the early part of February, so I will let you know when that begins, but I'm going to start a live stream over on my Patreon page. The link will be here in the comments to this video. And it's something that I've thought about doing, and a number of people have asked for. These videos, by the way, will continue. These 15 to 20 minute, almost daily, 5 to 6 times a week videos will continue right here on YouTube, because frequency and repetition are so valuable. They're necessary on the spiritual path, on any learning path, aren't they? But the live stream is going to enable us to go deeper with some of the metaphysical ideas and concepts discussed here in this course, like forgiveness, where a lot can be said, like miracles, like atonement, and so on and so on. And this discussion format, they'll be live, and you have the opportunity to leave live comments and join me. Again, details about when and what date will begin will be coming up here. And by the way, you'll also have access over there on the Patreon page to all of the archived recordings. So it's an opportunity to go a little bit deeper with our study of this course. Again, these videos will continue several times a week, and I thank you for joining me. Please feel welcome to leave any questions here, and I will see you again very soon.